If you claimed Social Security at 62, or if you are sitting here right now thinking about it, I want to start with something that the financial media almost never tells you. You may actually be making the right decision. For a real, specific, identifiable group of people, claiming Social Security at 62 is the most financially sound choice they can make. And the constant drumbeat of wait until 70 is not just incomplete advice for those people. In some situations, following it blindly is the actual mistake. I have spent a lot of time with this research, and here is what I keep coming back to. The financial media's advice to always wait is built on a population average, not on your life. It is correct for the person who is in excellent health, who has other income and savings they can live on, who is the higher earner in a marriage, and who has a family history of living into their late 80s and 90s. For that person, that specific combination of facts, yes, waiting as long as possible, is almost certainly right. But most people are not that person. And a lot of people who do not match that profile have been made to feel like they are giving up money they deserve or making an uneducated choice simply because they made the decision that was right for their actual life instead of the hypothetical average life. So today, I want to walk you through the 5 legitimate reasons to claim Social Security at 62. The real ones, grounded in actual mechanics, actual math, and actual circumstances. And I also want to spend a few minutes at the end being honest about when claiming early is genuinely not the right call. Because this is not a video that argues claiming at 62 is always right any more than wait until 70 is always right. It's a video about knowing the difference and knowing where you fall. So grab a notepad and let's get started. Let's begin with the math that puts the rest of this discussion into context. Opting for Social Security benefits at the earliest eligibility age of 62 results in a lasting 30% reduction compared to what you would collect at your full retirement age, FRA. As of 2026, the maximum monthly payouts are structured as follows: $2,969 at age 62, $4,152 at full retirement age, and $5,181 if you hold out until age 70. These precise proportions apply regardless of your individual earnings history. It is crucial to remember that this baseline shift is permanent. Your long-term monthly retirement income floor is locked into these ratios for the rest of your life. Now, 5 reasons why, for specific people in specific situations, claiming at 62 is the sound call. Reason 1, your health or family history tells you the truth, the averages don't. This is the most honest reason on the list, and it is the one that requires the most personal courage to say out loud because it requires acknowledging something most of us prefer not to dwell on. If your health picture or your family history gives you genuine reason to believe you may not reach it, the math shifts in favor of claiming earlier, and claiming at 62 might be a financially rational option for you. I'm not talking about general health anxiety. I'm not talking about being a little overweight or having slightly elevated blood pressure. The research here is specific. What should move this needle is a diagnosed chronic condition with known prognostic impact. Certain cancers, established heart disease, COPD, diabetes with significant complications, kidney disease at meaningful stages. These are not vague worries. These are conditions where a doctor has told you something specific, where the clinical picture gives you real information about your life expectancy that the population averages do not capture. Family longevity matters too, with a caveat. If your same-sex parent and grandparents consistently lived into their 90s, that is real information pointing toward delay. But if your family has a pattern, not accidents, not unrelated causes, but diseases and conditions that are likely to affect you in similar ways, of passing in their late 60s and 70s, that is also real information. And you are allowed to use it. So, if you have a real diagnosed health situation, or a family history that gives you genuine actuarial reason to expect a shorter than average lifespan, claiming at 62 is not a mistake. It is a decision made with complete information about your actual situation, which is exactly what any good financial decision should be. Reason 2, you need the income now, and that is not a failure. This is the most common reason people claim at 62. And it is also the reason that gets the least respect in the financial press. It's worth saying this plainly. If you lost your job at 60 or 61, if you have exhausted your severance, if you have no pension and no meaningful savings, if your body has been worn down by decades of physical work and you simply cannot continue, the theoretical superiority of waiting until 70 is irrelevant, completely irrelevant, because the conversation about delay assumes you have other income to live on during those waiting years. If you do not, the comparison is not claim at 62 versus wait until 70. The comparison is claim at 62 versus drain your 401k early at a 10% penalty, or run up high-interest debt, or go without health care. For someone facing those constraints, a smaller guaranteed benefit at 62 may compare favorably with alternatives such as drawing down retirement savings early or relying on expensive debt. The people who most often claim at 62 out of genuine financial need are people who worked physically demanding jobs, construction, manufacturing, agriculture, caregiving, whose bodies simply could not continue. Their claiming decision is made within the constraints of their real life, not within the hypothetical of unlimited income flexibility. So, if you are in this situation, claiming at 62 is not the wrong decision. It is the decision appropriate to your actual circumstances. And the person who waited until 70 because they had a pension, a spouse's income, and a healthy 401k to draw from did not make a better decision. They made a decision within a different set of options. Both are valid responses to real constraints. Reason 3. You are the lower earning spouse in a strategic household plan. This is the reason that most often surprises people, because it turns the conventional advice partly on its head in a very specific way. If you are married and you are the lower earning spouse, claiming at 62 can be exactly the right move as part of a coordinated household strategy where your higher earning spouse delays to 70. This is sometimes called the 62/70 split, and it can possibly add an estimated $50,000 to $150,000 in lifetime household Social Security income compared to both spouses claiming at the same earlier age. Let me explain why. When one spouse dies, the survivor does not keep both checks. The survivor keeps whichever check was larger, and the smaller one disappears. Which means the most important Social Security benefit in many households is not either spouse's monthly payment while both are alive. It is the floor that the higher earner's benefit creates for the surviving spouse, potentially for decades after the first death. And here is a crucial legal protection. Claiming your own benefit early at 62 does not permanently cap your future survivor benefit. If your higher earning spouse delays to 70 and passes away first, you still step up to their full, maxed out check once you reach your full retirement age. If the higher earner claims at 62 with a 30% reduction, the surviving spouse inherits that reduced amount. If the higher earner delays to 70 with a 24% bonus above full retirement age, the surviving spouse inherits that larger amount. For a widow or widower who might live another 15 or 20 years on a single income, the difference between those two floors is significant. It can be the difference between financial security and real financial strain in the most vulnerable years. So the coordinated strategy looks like this. The lower earning spouse claims at 62, providing household income during the years the higher earner is waiting. The higher earner delays to 70, locking in the maximum possible benefit, which then becomes the maximum possible survivor benefit for whoever outlives the other. The household gets current cash flow from the lower earner's early claim and maximum insurance protection from the higher earner's delayed claim. Both spouses are contributing to the household's optimal outcome, but they're doing it at different times. There is an important nuance here, and I want to name it so you have the full picture. This strategy, lower earner claims at 62, higher earner delays, is optimized for couples of roughly average health and life expectancy. If both spouses are in excellent health with strong family longevity well into the 80s and 90s, the real numbers sometimes show that even the lower earner should wait a bit longer than 62 because the household's actual risk is a long joint lifespan, not a short one. The rule of thumb holds most of the time. But the actual numbers run for your specific situation with a certified financial planner who will tell you more than the rule of thumb. Reason 4. You are protecting your investment portfolio from a bad start. This is the most underrated legitimate reason on this entire list. and I want to give it the space it deserves, because it has nothing to do with your life expectancy and everything to do with the mathematics of how retirement portfolios actually survive. There is a phenomenon called sequence of returns risk, and it is one of the most important concepts in retirement finance that most people have never heard of. Here is how it works. When you retire and start drawing from your investment portfolio to pay living expenses, the order in which your returns occur matters enormously. If you retire into a strong market and your portfolio grows in your first several years of retirement, you are drawing down a smaller percentage of a growing base. Your money has time to recover. But if you retire into a bad market, one where your portfolio drops 20% or 30% in the first 2 or 3 years while you are also selling shares to pay the mortgage and the grocery bill, you are locking in losses that the portfolio can never fully recover from. You are selling at the bottom to cover expenses, and then the recovery that eventually comes is working from a permanently smaller base. Researchers have documented that a bad stretch in the first 5 years of retirement can meaningfully increase the odds that an otherwise adequate portfolio runs out of money, even when the long-term average return is perfectly reasonable. Social Security income is a guaranteed, government-backed, inflation-adjusted paycheck that does not care what the market did last quarter. If you claim at 62 and that monthly check is covering your basic living expenses, you are dramatically reducing the amount you need to withdraw from your portfolio during the most vulnerable early retirement years. You are letting the portfolio stay invested rather than selling into a down market. And the research shows that this portfolio protection, reducing withdrawal pressure during bad sequences, can meaningfully improve the odds that a moderate investment portfolio survives 30 years, even though the Social Security math in isolation would suggest waiting was better. This is a reason used by people who could technically afford to wait. They are not claiming at 62 because they have no other income. They are claiming at 62 as a deliberate portfolio defense strategy, using Social Security as a firewall against the withdrawal risk that is most dangerous in the early years. And it is a professionally recognized, financially legitimate reason to claim early. So, if you are retiring into a volatile market, or if you have a moderate portfolio that would be significantly strained by 5 or 6 years of withdrawals before Social Security kicks in, this reason deserves real weight in your decision. Reason 5. You value having guaranteed money in your control. Right now. This is the reason that financial media is most likely to dismiss, and I think that dismissal is a mistake. Some people, after looking at the full picture honestly, after understanding the break-even and the permanent reduction and the survivor benefit implications, simply prefer to have guaranteed money in hand at 62 to use, invest, or spend as they see fit, rather than depending on projected payments from a government program in a decade's time. This is not a financial planning error. It is a values-based choice about risk, control, and the use of money at different stages of life, and when it is made with full information rather than confusion or fear, it deserves to be respected as a legitimate decision. Here is the financial argument underneath it. The guaranteed delayed retirement credit that Social Security offers for waiting past 67 is approximately 8% per year. That is a meaningful, risk-free return, and in low-interest rate environments, it is very competitive with what you can earn elsewhere without taking risk. But it is not an overwhelmingly decisive number. If you take your Social Security at 62, invest the checks in a tax-efficient way, and earn a return that beats the after-tax, after-inflation equivalent of that 8% annual delayed credit, mathematically, early claiming wins. It is a difficult bar to clear consistently, but it is not impossible. And the value of having that capital deployed, compounding, and accessible to you in your 60s is real. There are also things money at 62 can do that money at 70 cannot. It can pay off debt that is costing you interest. It can fund healthcare in the years before Medicare kicks in, or cover the gap between what your early retirement budget requires and what your other income provides. It can fund experiences, travel, time with grandchildren, the things you put off for decades of work, during the years when you have the health and energy to fully enjoy them. The argument that this choice is financially irrational does not account for the real cost of deferring life. There is one honest caveat I want to pair with this reason, because I said at the beginning that I would tell you the full picture. This is the reason most likely to be made for the wrong reasons. Specifically, anxiety about Social Security's solvency or fear of the political future of the program rather than a genuine preference for control. If you are considering claiming early primarily because you are worried Social Security will not be there at 70, I want to address that directly. Even in the projected worst-case scenario, if Congress does nothing and the retirement trust fund reaches insolvency around 2032, Social Security does not stop. It legally cannot pay out more than it takes in, but the ongoing payroll tax revenue it receives is projected to cover approximately 77 to 78% of scheduled benefits indefinitely. That is a meaningful cut. It is not nothing, but it is not zero. And more importantly, a proportional cut would reduce your benefit whether you claimed at 62 or 70. The person with the higher benefit still has more after the cut than the person with the lower benefit. Claiming at 62 to hedge against a potential future cut does not actually protect you from the cut. It just guarantees you a smaller base for the cut to apply to. Claim early because you want the money in your control right now, because you have a specific plan for it, because the flexibility and immediacy matter to you. That is a legitimate reason. Claim early because you are afraid the whole thing is going away. That is anxiety doing the math instead of you doing the math, and it deserves a closer look. One more thing before I close, because knowing this genuinely reduces the anxiety around making this decision in the first place. If you claim at 62 and within the first 12 months you decide it was the wrong call, you can file something called Form SSA-521E, a withdrawal of your application. You have to repay every dollar you received, including any Medicare premiums covered during that period, and it is a one-time option. But if you use it within that 12-month window, it is as if you never claimed. You start fresh. If you are past that 12-month window but you reach your full retirement age and wish you had waited, there is a second option. You can voluntarily suspend your benefit. Payments stop. Delayed retirement credits of roughly 8% per year begin accruing again. You do not have to repay anything. Payments simply stop going forward and the credit builds until you restart or reach 70. It will not undo the reduction from 62 to your FRA, but it will build new credits from the suspension point, and it is a real, underused tool worth knowing about. These two mechanisms mean the decision is not as permanent as it feels in the moment you make it. You have safety valves. They are not unlimited. There are time constraints and trade-offs, but they exist. And knowing they exist should take some of the pressure off making a perfect decision on day one. The bottom line is fairly simple. Waiting until 70 is the right call, on average, for a healthy single person with financial flexibility and a family history of longevity. That average is real and it is correct for who it describes, but it does not describe everyone. And if you are in poor health, or you genuinely need the income now, or you are the lower earning spouse in a household with a coordinated claiming strategy, or you are trying to protect a moderate investment portfolio from sequence of returns risk in a volatile market, or you simply have a clear-eyed preference for guaranteed money in hand at 62, then claiming at 62 is not a mistake. It is the decision appropriate to your actual life. The goal is not to find the universally right age. The goal is to find the right age for your health, your household, your income needs, and your relationship with risk. That is a specific calculation that belongs to you, not to a financial article written for an average person who may not be you. If you want help working through the specific numbers for your situation, the Social Security Administration's own website at ssa.gov has a retirement estimator that pulls from your actual earnings record and models different claiming ages. AARP has a free Social Security benefits calculator that models household strategies for couples. And a fee-only financial planner, someone paid by you rather than by commission, can run the full picture including taxes, Roth conversions, survivor benefits, and portfolio effects in a single integrated analysis. Social Security is a benefit you've spent a working lifetime paying into. Knowing when to claim it is not about following a rule, It's about understanding your own situation well enough to make the call that is right for you specifically. If you find this video helpful, support our channel by subscribing. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.